Hey everyone, Steve from Backcountry Gallery here. Thanks for stopping by and watching my video today. This time around, we're going to review the Fotodiox Wonderpana 145 Essentials Kit for the Nikon 14-24. This kit basically allows you to use a polarizer with the lens, and in my opinion, fixing the one and only downfall of an otherwise outstanding optic. I've been using the adapter for about 6 months now, and I have to tell you, I'm really loving this thing. Now, I know there are a lot of people looking at the screen right now, probably screaming at me, why would you use a polarizer with an ultra-wide angle? They're going to make the sky look uneven, it's going to destroy everything, it's going to look terrible. Whew, take a breath, easy now, okay? You're 100% right. You should never use a polarizer on an ultra-wide angle lens for the sky. It really will make it look uneven and it'll probably ruin the shot. However, that's not why I use a polarizer. In fact, the last time I used a polarizer to enhance a blue sky, I was still shooting film. See, I have some cool Photoshop tricks that make a blue sky look the way I want, so you'll never catch me polarizing a sky. So let's start with why do you need it anyway then? Well, polarizers take reflections off of things like rocks, water, and leaves, anything shiny. As an example, I use polarizers for waterfalls all the time to give you a huge color boost by allowing the real colors to show through the surface reflections. If you don't use one, you can't get those colors back in Photoshop since you never captured them in the first place. You just captured that surface reflection on top. Okay, back to the 14-24 and the adapter. Now, as I was saying, the biggest downfall of this lens was there was no good way to use it with a polarizer until now. The Fotodiox system is the answer 14-24 owners have been looking for. The system provides you a collar you can mount to the lens, and it gives you 145mm thread so you can screw things in like, well, a polarizer. They also have a couple nice neutral density filters that are available and could come in handy, as well as a UV filter, but that's kind of useless with digital, so we'll maybe pass on that one. Now the adapter is metal and it's really well made, and I've been surprisingly impressed with the quality of the polarizer as well. But first, let's look at how all of this goes together, and then we'll take a look at the overall optical quality of the filter itself. Alright, I have the kit all laid out here. You'll have to forgive me. It's a little bit dirty. It's had a lot of use over the last 6 months. But anyhow, the basic kit here is the big huge lens cap, which actually in and of itself is pretty cool. We have the polarizer right here, this job right here. And then these three are the pieces that make up the collar itself, and I'm going to show you how to put all that together right now. Okay, let's go ahead and put the collar on the lens. First step is to make sure you have a rear cap for your 14-24 so you don't scratch through your element. Next step, now the way I do it, I like to take the beveled edge of this and I just insert it right into the hood itself, like so. Okay? Next, you actually pull the lens through the hood, rear end first. So I just put it on top, I just pull it. So it's just like that, nothing to it. Then I just put my fingers down here and hold things in place on the larger part here. The next step is to put the locking ring in place. Now this, if there's a trick to this, it's probably this here. You have to make sure these little tabs are actually on top when you're putting it together here. So, and they kind of lock inside of the pedals here. And then carefully, once you get it there, just screw the assembly together. Every now and then you do get a little smudge on the front of your 14-24 doing this. I speak from experience because I just did it when I was doing this, so I have to clean that up. The biggest thing here is make sure everything's going on straight, and make sure these little tabs are locked into the corners of the large pedals here. And don't get it too tight. The instructions warn you not to get it too tight because you don't want to break your lens. I'm going to say the same thing, be very careful. Get it on there so it's snug. Once it's all set up, all you have to do is carefully start your polarizer. There we go. Had to find the beginning of the threads there. And you're set to go. Nothing to it. Okay, overall it's pretty easy to assemble, but keep in mind you do need to be very careful that the collar is on perfectly straight. Take a shot with the lens wide open at f2.8 at 14mm. Now you might see some minor vignetting in the corners that'll go away once you stop down, but if you see uneven vignetting, then you're not on 100% straight and you need to try again. Okay guys, I have to interrupt myself for just a second here. I was putting the video together and I realized, hey, maybe there's some people out there that want to know a little bit more about the vignetting, if it's an issue or not on this particular adapter. Now, here's the thing. I know when you're talking about 14mm, a lot of times people do get concerned because there's a lot of kits out there and you can get a little bit of vignetting. So the big question is, does this vignette at 14mm? Well, actually, yes it does, but just a little bit. At 2.8 you see it a little bit more than you do, say, at f8 or f11, but it's still there. Now the reason I forgot to mention it, and main video is because it's actually pretty much a non-issue. When I go into Lightroom, or you could use whatever raw conversion software you like. When you go into that software, there's always some kind of a lens correction checkbox you can use. You just check that, and honestly, the vignetting just disappears instantly. It's not a big problem at all. In fact, let's go to Lightroom right now, and I will show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, now to do this, I picked an image with a clear blue sky, and this was shot about f8, f11, and you can see there is a tiny bit of vignetting here in the corners. It's not a real big deal. Now just watch this. Enable profile corrections, click it, poof, just gone, just like that. Nothing to it at all. It's just that simple. The vignetting is completely gone from all the corners. It looks good. Turn it back off and you can see how it was, then turn it back on, and there it is. Really, it's that simple. Okay, so that's it. Let's go back to me now. Now let's answer the big question. Is the optical quality of the polarizer any good? I have to say I was not expecting much, and I had plans to purchase the additional parts from Fotodiox that allow this collar to use square filters, so then I could buy a different brand of polarizer from another manufacturer. However, it turns out I didn't have anything to worry about. The polarizer is actually really good. First, the polarization is fantastic. It works as well as any other polarizer I've used at knocking off reflections, and let me tell you, I've used a lot of different polarizers. Just look at it knocking off all those reflections. It's awesome. Now, although that doesn't answer the real question though, does it? How is it optically? After all, we don't want to put a crappy polarizer in front of an amazing lens like the 14-24, even if it is good at getting rid of those reflections. Well, I have some good news. Optically, it really doesn't seem to take any sharpness away from the image, even when used with a really demanding camera like the D800. Here's a quick test with and without the polarizer attached. Note that I deliberately picked a subject where the effects of polarization would be minimal. See, sometimes you can get a false sense of sharpness when there's a lot of reflection taken away from a shot. We already know it does a good job with that. It's good at taking off reflections. We want to see the sharpness, and that's what we want to test. And as you can see here, it's pretty darn impressive. I really can't see any significant differences between the two shots. Now, I recommend checking out my website, though, to see these images in person. It's going to be tough to compare stuff like this on video. I'll post a link below if you're watching this on YouTube, so you can go check that out. One thing people ask me a lot is if it's multi-coated. I don't believe it is, so you may need to exercise caution if you're pointing it towards the sun. It'll probably flare a bit. However, for what this polarizer is probably getting used for, I doubt you'll be pointing it at the sun very much anyway. Here are a few real-world examples using the 14-24 with this adapter kit. One really great thing about having a polarizer attached to my 14-24 is I can now do ultra-wide angle shots of waterfalls and woodland scenes, and it has been a blast. I am very happy with the color, the sharpness, and the amount of polarization this filter delivers. I don't ever leave home without it. Now, there are a few drawbacks as well. In fact, 3 of them come to mind, but they're all pretty minor. The first is obvious. This thing is big, and if you leave it on your lens, it will eat up a lot of space in your camera bag, no question about it. I personally leave mine set up all the time. Even though I could take it apart between shots, I know that if I had to assemble it each time I wanted a shot, I probably wouldn't use it as much as I should. I'm kind of lazy that way. Second downfall is you absolutely must keep this thing clean. With most filters, if you get a small spot of dust on the front of it, you won't see it in the final photo. It'll blur right out because it's so close to the front element. Not with this one. Between the deep depth of field of the ultra-wide angle and the distance from the filter to the front element, any little speck can actually show up as a smear in your image. You got to keep this thing clean. Finally, there's no hood in front of the polarizer with this setup. So if you're pointing towards something bright, watch for flares. If you're shooting by a misty waterfall, make sure you have a pocket full of dry microfiber cloth because you are going to need it. In my opinion though, these few drawbacks are pretty minor trade-off for having a nice polarizer available for this lens. At around $270, the price is also relatively inexpensive compared to other filter systems for the 14-24, and those systems, at least as of this video, don't even offer a polarizer. If you're a landscape photographer, you really owe it to yourself to give this a try. It takes shooting your 14-24 right up to the next level. Alright, well, thanks for watching today, and please make sure you subscribe to my channel, my email newsletter, and click that like button down below the video if you're on YouTube and you've enjoyed this review. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Thread it right on, or throw it around. This is why we're going to do this 100 times, by the way. It's actually pretty much a non-issue. I have a cat at the door right now, though, so I'm going to have to stop this and try it again here in a minute.